Enough! After today, this company moves forward without you, Evelyn. You are no longer the person who decides our future. You had your chance. The company needs leaders who understand the future, not people who are trapped in the past. Be careful what you remove from a foundation. Before you celebrate, make sure you understand who you just removed. You think that changes anything? Who owns the company? What?
Victoria Hale thought she had just fired a powerless employee. She had no idea she had just challenged the one person standing.
For 8 months, Evelyn Carter watched them erase her name. She watched them take credit for her work, and she waited, because she knew the truth always comes due. Everyone here heard the announcement this morning, but nobody heard the whole story. You thought removing me was the end. You were wrong. What is this? What's happening? The question you should have asked before today. This isn't over. The truth always arrives.
Before anyone makes another decision, these documents need to be reviewed.
We never knew.
That's because nobody wanted you to.
Back to when Evelyn Carter, woman they tried to remove. She was the woman who built everything they were standing in. Before the glass offices, before the executives, before anyone knew her name. She built the company with her own hands. Every life hides a story. Every choice leaves a mark. And sometimes, one ordinary moment changes everything. Every story has a final chapter. Some leave us with hope, others with a lingering question. Are the ones we share. We'll see you in the story.
8 months earlier. Every betrayal, this one took 11 months to finish. She wasn't planning revenge, she was...
Before we continue, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy gripping stories packed with shocking twists, emotional moments, and endings that leave you speechless, you're going to love what we have in store. We upload new stories regularly, and we'd love to have you as part of our growing community. Now, without wasting another second, let's go back to where it all began. 3 days earlier. Detroit, Michigan. The October morning was cold enough to leave a thin layer of frost on every parked car. At exactly 5:15 a.m., while most of the city was still asleep, Evelyn Carter was already awake. The smell of fresh coffee filled the small kitchen. She stood quietly at the stove turning pancakes one at a time, while sunlight slowly crept through the curtains. Across the hallway, her 8-year-old grandson Noah argued with his backpack because, according to him, dinosaurs should absolutely be allowed at school. Evelyn laughed. Only if they're well behaved. They are. Are you sure? The nice ones are. She smiled and slid another pancake onto his plate. Every Friday was Pancake Friday. No meetings. No exceptions. No matter how busy work became. Noah looked up. Grandma. Yes. When are you going to retire? She paused just long enough for him not to notice. When this company doesn't need me anymore. He grinned. Then you'll never retire. She reached over and gently brushed his hair back. I hope you're wrong. She packed his lunch exactly the way she always did. Turkey sandwich. Apple slices. 1 chocolate cookie hidden underneath. And a folded note. Be kind, be brave, love always wins. He couldn't read every word yet. His teacher always helped him. She kissed the top of his head. Outside, the cold morning air wrapped around them as they climbed into her aging silver sedan. Traffic slowly thickened toward downtown Detroit. 20 minutes later, the massive glass headquarters of Carter Advanced Manufacturing came into view. Hundreds of employees streamed through the entrance. Most smiled and waved. "Morning, Miss Evelyn." "Good morning. Have a great Friday." "You too." Nobody noticed something important. The company logo above the entrance carried her family name. But almost nobody left in that building knew why. And in exactly 72 hours, that forgotten truth was going to destroy one of the most powerful executives in the state. Most people believed Evelyn Carter had spent her career maintaining machines. That wasn't entirely wrong. It just wasn't the whole truth. Long before the polished headquarters, before the glass offices, before the television interviews and glossy magazine covers, there had only been a leaking warehouse, one worn-out milling machine, and two people who refused to quit. Evelyn and her husband, Daniel Carter. Daniel could build almost anything with steel. Evelyn could build almost anything with numbers. When suppliers refused to trust them, she convinced them. When the bank said no, she came back with a better business plan. When payroll almost failed during their third year, she quietly mortgaged the little house they had bought as newlyweds without telling a single employee. Not because she wanted praise, because she never wanted anyone on the factory floor wondering whether their paycheck would arrive on Friday. That was always Daniel's promise. If they build our dream, we protect theirs. And they did. Year after year. Contract after contract. Failure after failure. Until failure slowly became success. The company grew from 6 employees to 20 to 80 to more than 400 people working across 3 facilities. People called Daniel the face of Carter Advanced Manufacturing. He hated that description. Every single interview ended the same way. If you're looking for the smartest person in this company, you're interviewing the wrong Carter. He would point toward Evelyn. She usually rolled her eyes. He usually laughed. Their employees laughed with them. Those were good years. Then life reminded them that success doesn't negotiate. Daniel died unexpectedly from a heart attack, just 6 years after the company reached national recognition. One ordinary Tuesday morning, he kissed Evelyn goodbye. By lunchtime, he was gone. The funeral lasted one afternoon. The silence afterward lasted much longer. Board members expected Evelyn to become CEO immediately. Instead, she shocked everyone. She stepped away from the spotlight. Not because she couldn't lead, because there was someone who needed her more. Her daughter had already passed away years earlier. Now Daniel was gone too, leaving one frightened little boy who had already buried both parents. Noah. From that day forward, Evelyn made herself a promise. The company would always be protected. But Noah would never grow up wondering whether anyone was waiting for him after school. She restructured everything. She transferred controlling ownership into a protected family trust. The trust existed for one purpose: to guarantee that no board, no investor, no executive could ever sell the company away from the family without the trustees' approval. Only one person held that authority. Only one signature could authorize the controlling shares. Her signature. The paperwork disappeared into legal files. Years passed. Executives retired. Law firms changed. Board members came and went. Eventually, almost nobody remembered who actually controlled the company. including one ambitious executive named Victoria Hale. She arrived with impressive credentials: elite universities, Fortune 500 experience, magazine interviews. Investors loved her. Television loved her. The board loved her. At first, Evelyn did too, because Victoria seemed exactly like the leader the growing company needed. She was polished, confident, fearless. What Evelyn couldn't see was the difference between confidence and ambition without limits. And by the time she finally recognized that difference, Victoria had already begun rewriting the company's history. Victoria's first year as CEO was everything the board had hoped for. Revenue climbed. New contracts poured in. Industry magazines called her the woman reshaping American manufacturing. Employees applauded. Investors celebrated. Even Evelyn smiled from the back of the room. She had never wanted applause. She wanted the company to survive. And it was surviving. Or so she believed. The first crack was so small it almost didn't matter. One Monday morning, Evelyn walked into the lobby and stopped without realizing why. Something felt different. She looked around. The walls had been repainted. The reception desk had been redesigned. The old black and white photograph showing Daniel standing beside the company's very first machine was gone. She asked the receptionist. "Oh, Miss Evelyn," the young woman said politely. "Marketing moved all the old photos downstairs. They said the new branding focuses on the future." Evelyn simply nodded. "It looks nice." She didn't argue. A picture wasn't a company. At least that's what she told herself. 3 weeks later, she found the photograph lying face down inside a dusty storage room. The frame was cracked. The glass had chipped in one corner. She picked it up carefully, brushed away the dust with her sleeve, and stared at Daniel's smiling face. "You'd probably tell me to let it go," she whispered. So she put the picture back and walked away. Then the stories began changing. A trade magazine published a 12-page feature titled, "The Visionary Who Built Carter Advanced Manufacturing." Victoria's face filled the cover. Evelyn bought a copy during lunch. She read every page. Daniel's name appeared once. As a footnote, her own name never appeared at all. The article described the company as a struggling regional manufacturer transformed by Victoria's leadership. The garage, the sacrifices, the mortgage, the years of uncertainty. Gone, as if they had never existed. She folded the magazine neatly, dropped it into the trash, went back to work. Still, she said nothing. Months passed. The orientation video shown to every new employee was replaced. The new version proudly announced, "Carter Advanced Manufacturing became an industry leader through bold executive leadership and modern vision." One afternoon, a young engineering graduate sat beside Evelyn in the cafeteria. He smiled. "You've been here a long time, haven't you?" "I have." "You must be proud of what Miss Hale built." Evelyn looked at him. He wasn't being rude. He genuinely believed it. She smiled gently. "I am proud of the company." He grinned. "I hope I get to meet her one day." "You probably will." He thanked her, finished his lunch, and walked away. Evelyn watched him disappear through the cafeteria doors. For the first time, she realized something painful. History doesn't disappear overnight. It disappears one conversation at a time, one employee at a time, one forgotten name at a time. Still, She remained silent because she had made herself a promise years ago. No personal pride would ever become more important than protecting the company. She kept believing patience would solve the problem, until the meeting that changed everything. It happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Quarterly operations review. 14 executives. One long conference table. Victoria sat confidently at the head. A silver pen clicked softly against the polished wood. Every time that pen clicked, people stopped talking. Evelyn recognized that sound. It wasn't confidence anymore. It was control. And before the meeting ended, Victoria was about to humiliate the one person she never should have underestimated. The conference room fell silent as Victoria clicked her silver pen against the table. Next item. A procurement manager stood and projected a supplier proposal onto the screen. A new steel supplier. Lower prices. Faster delivery. Everyone around the table nodded. Everyone except Evelyn. She studied the specifications for only a few seconds before speaking. "I'm concerned." Victoria looked up. "About what?" "The supplier hasn't completed the latest aerospace stress certifications." The room grew quiet. Evelyn continued calmly. "If one of these components fails inside an aircraft or medical system, the savings won't matter." Several managers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them slowly nodded. Victoria smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind people wear when they're about to embarrass someone in public. "Thank you, Evelyn." She looked around the table before continuing. For those who may not know, Evelyn has spent many years around the production floor. A few polite smiles appeared. She's very protective of the old way of doing things. Light laughter. Victoria leaned back. But manufacturing has changed. She picked up the proposal. "Today we make decisions with data, not emotion." More laughter. Not because it was funny. Because everyone understood where the power in the room sat. Evelyn didn't respond. She simply closed her notebook. But before she did, she quietly wrote 2 words. "Start documenting." Not revenge. Documentation. There is a difference. That afternoon, instead of going home, Evelyn stayed behind after almost everyone had left. The building became quiet. Office lights shut off one floor at a time. Rain tapped softly against the windows. She carried a stack of vendor invoices into a small conference room. One invoice caught her attention. Meridian Business Consulting. Monthly advisory services. $38,000. No project description. No deliverables. No reports. No measurable work. Just payment. Month after month. She pulled another invoice. Same company. Different amount. Then another. And another. The numbers kept growing. Something about them felt wrong. Not obvious. Just wrong. She opened the vendor registration file. The listed office address belonged to a small executive suite outside Detroit. She searched county property records. The building existed. The consulting office didn't. Instead, the ownership records pointed toward a residential condominium. Registered owner. Michael Hale. Victoria's younger brother. Evelyn stopped typing. She leaned back in her chair. She wasn't angry. She was disappointed. There is a special kind of sadness that comes when someone betrays something you spent your life protecting. That sadness settled quietly over the room. She closed the laptop, walked downstairs, and found the one person she knew she could still trust. Linda Brooks, the company's chief financial controller. Linda had worked beside Daniel for nearly 20 years. She understood numbers better than excuses. Evelyn closed the office door behind her. "I need your help." Linda removed her glasses. "What happened?" "I think someone is stealing from the company." Linda didn't ask who. She didn't ask why. She asked the only question that mattered. "How much proof do you already have?" Evelyn looked down at the folder in her hands. "Not enough." Linda nodded once. "Then let's make sure we find enough." That conversation lasted less than 10 minutes. It quietly began the investigation that would change every life inside Carter Advanced Manufacturing. Neither woman raised her voice. Neither threatened anyone. They simply started collecting facts. Because facts, unlike lies, never panic. From that day forward, Evelyn lived two different lives. During the day, she was exactly who everyone believed she was. The quiet senior employee who walked the production floor. The woman who still remembered every machinist's birthday. The one who fixed problems without asking for recognition. At night, she became something else. An investigator. Every suspicious invoice was copied. Every payment was traced. Every approval was photographed. Linda kept duplicate records in a locked filing cabinet at home. Nothing was stored on the company's servers. Nothing was left where it could disappear. Weeks turned into months. The evidence grew thicker. One document led to another. One transaction uncovered 3 more. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Money wasn't simply disappearing. It was being redirected. Companies connected to Victoria's associates. Consulting firms with no employees. Office leases for buildings that didn't exist. Marketing contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars with almost nothing delivered in return. Every trail ended with the same small circle of names. Victoria, Michael, and the people loyal to them. Then, Linda found something that changed everything. It arrived by accident. A confidential presentation had been uploaded to the wrong shared folder for less than 20 minutes before someone deleted it. Fortunately, 20 minutes was enough. Linda downloaded every page. She drove straight to Evelyn's house that evening. Neither woman spoke until Noah had gone upstairs to bed. Only then did Linda slide the printed presentation across the kitchen table. The title read, Project Horizon. Evelyn slowly turned the first page. It was a proposal to sell controlling ownership of Carter Advanced Manufacturing to a private investment firm. Projected valuation. Executive bonuses. Leadership transition. Future restructuring. Everything had already been planned. Even the signatures. Then Evelyn reached the final pages. Her hand stopped moving. There it was. A legal authorization giving Victoria the right to vote the controlling shares held inside the Carter family trust. According to the document, the trustee had already approved it. Evelyn stared at the signature. Her own name. Perfectly written. Perfectly placed. Perfectly fake. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Finally, Linda whispered, "You didn't sign this." Evelyn looked up. "No." She turned the page again. The signature wasn't handwritten. It had been made with a stamp. Years earlier, when she was still serving as interim chairwoman, the company had ordered an official signature stamp for routine purchasing documents. It had remained locked inside the executive office after Victoria became CEO. Or at least, it was supposed to. Someone had taken it. Someone had stamped legal documents transferring authority they never possessed. Someone believed Evelyn would never find out. For the first time in months, she smiled, not because she was happy, because she finally understood Victoria's entire plan. The fake consulting contracts, the disappearing money, the falling company value. None of it had been the final goal. It had all been preparation. Victoria wasn't trying to steal salaries. She was trying to buy the entire company at a discount, using Evelyn's own signature against her. Linda looked across the table. What do we do now? Evelyn closed the folder carefully. Then she answered with complete certainty. We stop waiting. The following Friday morning, Victoria scheduled a company-wide town hall. 400 employees. One stage. Live cameras. She wanted everyone watching. She had no idea. So did Evelyn. By 9:30 Friday morning, every employee had filled the main auditorium. Production workers still wore steel-toe boots. Engineers carried tablets. Supervisors lined the walls. The atmosphere felt strangely festive. Coffee, pastries. A giant screen behind the stage displayed one message: Building tomorrow together. Evelyn stood near the back of the room. Quiet, almost invisible. Exactly where she wanted to be. Linda stood several rows away, pretending to check emails on her phone. Neither of them exchanged a glance. They didn't need to. Months of preparation had already said everything. At precisely 10 o'clock, the lights dimmed. Music filled the auditorium. Victoria walked confidently onto the stage. The applause was immediate. She thanked everyone for another successful quarter. She praised the leadership team. She spoke about growth, innovation, the future. Then her tone changed. As every successful organization evolves, difficult decisions become necessary. The room became still. She looked down at the card in her hand, smiled, then looked directly toward the back of the auditorium. Effective immediately. Evelyn Carter is no longer employed by Carter Advanced Manufacturing. A few gasps escaped before silence swallowed the room. Evelyn, thank you for your many years of service. No applause. No movement. Only silence. Two security officers slowly walked toward her. Both men looked uncomfortable. They had known Evelyn for years. One quietly held out a small cardboard box. I'm sorry. She smiled gently. It's not your fault. She calmly placed a framed family photograph inside the box. A coffee mug. A notebook. Nothing more. She lifted it without trembling, then started walking toward the exit. Hundreds of eyes followed her. Some employees looked shocked. Others looked down. A young reporter from the company's internal media team hurried after her with a microphone. Miss Carter, do you have any comment before you leave? Evelyn stopped. The entire lobby fell silent. Even Victoria stepped closer to the stage doors to watch. For several seconds, Evelyn said nothing. Then she looked directly into the camera. Her voice remained calm, clear, unshaken. You've just made the most expensive mistake of your career. The reporter blinked. I'm sorry. Evelyn turned her eyes toward Victoria. You should have checked who actually owned the company before you fired them. The lobby froze. Victoria laughed loudly enough for everyone to hear. I'm afraid losing your job has made you confused. Several executives forced nervous smiles. Victoria folded her arms. The board owns this company. Evelyn looked at her for one long moment. No, you work for the board. The board works for the shareholders. And the controlling shareholder. She gently lifted the cardboard box. Just walked out your front door. Without another word. She continued toward the exit. Outside, cold rain hammered the pavement. She stepped beneath the front awning and took a slow breath. Then she removed her phone from her coat pocket. One call. One number. Linda answered immediately. Everything they had prepared for over the past months. Everything they had patiently documented. Everything they had protected. Now depended on the next 4 words. Evelyn spoke quietly. Begin the board meeting. Linda didn't hesitate. I already have. Evelyn ended the call. Looked once more at the building she and Daniel had spent a lifetime creating. Then she walked into the rain. 5 hours remained. By sunset, someone else would be carrying a cardboard box. At exactly 4:55 p.m., the 12th floor boardroom looked immaculate. Crystal water glasses. Leather portfolios. Fresh coffee nobody touched. On one side of the table sat the investment group. On the other, Victoria Hale. Relaxed. Confident. Already celebrating a deal she believed was finished. The signature pages waited in neat stacks. All that remained was one final vote. At precisely 5 o'clock, the boardroom doors opened. Everyone looked up. Evelyn walked in first. Not alone. Behind her came Margaret Collins, the trust attorney. Linda Brooks, the company's chief financial officer, and 2 independent forensic auditors carrying sealed evidence boxes. The room fell silent. Victoria smiled. I'm afraid this meeting is private. Margaret placed one envelope on the table. It is now. The smile disappeared. Before anyone signs anything, Margaret said calmly, there is one question that must be answered. Who actually owns Foster Advanced Manufacturing? Nobody spoke. Margaret turned toward Evelyn. The Carter Family Trust owns 62% of this company. The sole trustee. She paused. Is Evelyn Carter. Every head turned. Victoria blinked. No. That's impossible. I checked every filing. You checked the wrong ones. Margaret slid another document across the table. Certified by the state of Michigan. Evelyn Carter remains the controlling owner. And she has never authorized this sale. The lead investor slowly lowered his pen. So, he asked quietly, everything we've been shown was unauthorized. Linda answered, not everything. Only the parts designed to deceive you. The first evidence box opened. Bank transfers. Vendor invoices. Consulting payments. Wire records. Every document dated. Every payment traced. Every missing dollar accounted for. The room became quieter with every page. Victoria finally stood. This is ridiculous. These numbers don't prove anything. Linda looked directly at her. They prove enough. She pressed a button on the conference screen. One spreadsheet appeared. Then another. Then another. Month after month. Millions of dollars flowing into companies that existed only on paper. Every transfer approved. Using Victoria's authorization. Nobody interrupted. Nobody defended her. The evidence spoke for itself. The lead investor slowly closed his portfolio. The sound echoed across the room. We're withdrawing our offer. One sentence. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Gone. Victoria looked around the room searching for support. She found none. Only silence. Margaret opened the final envelope. The Carter Family Trust has already exercised its voting rights. Effective immediately. Victoria Hale is removed as Chief Executive Officer. The words landed exactly as they had that morning. Effective immediately. The same sentence. A different person. Victoria stared at Evelyn. You planned this? Evelyn nodded once. No. I documented it. There is a difference. Within 30 minutes, independent auditors secured every financial record. Corporate access cards were disabled. Outside counsel notified federal investigators. Every fraudulent contract was frozen. Every fake vendor account locked. Every employee scheduled for layoffs kept their job. The company wasn't saved because someone fought harder. It was saved because someone prepared longer. The following Monday, employees entered the lobby and immediately stopped walking. The original garage photograph had returned to its place. Beside it stood a small brass plaque. Never forget where honest work begins. Nobody needed an announcement. Everyone understood. Linda officially became Chief Financial Officer. Not because of loyalty, because she had protected the truth. When it would have been easier to protect herself. The apprenticeship program received its original name back. Quality standards returned. Every supplier contract was independently reviewed. Slowly, trust returned. Reporters waited outside hoping for a statement. Evelyn gave them exactly one sentence. A company is built by people. It survives because of character. Then she walked away. That evening, she arrived home just before dinner. Her grandson looked up from the living room floor. Grandma, did you win today? Evelyn smiled. She knelt beside him. I don't think anyone won. But a lot of good people kept what they worked for. He accepted that answer instantly. Children usually do. Later that night, Evelyn stood alone on the back porch. The rain had finally stopped. For 11 months, she had carried a burden nobody else could see. Now, for the first time, she could finally set it down. Not because she defeated someone, because she protected something worth defending. People often think strength is loud. It isn't. Sometimes strength looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like discipline. And sometimes it looks like 11 months of quiet preparation, followed by 5 minutes of undeniable truth. If this story reminded you that integrity is always stronger than arrogance, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe, because every week we bring you stories proving that character always outlasts power. Because in the end, people may forget who made the loudest speech, but they never forget who quietly saved everything. 3 months later, Foster Advanced Manufacturing wasn't just profitable again. It was recognizable again. The original garage photograph hung proudly in the lobby. Below it, a new brass plaque read, "Built with integrity, protected with courage." Nobody suggested changing it. Nobody dared. The fake consulting companies had disappeared. Every employee who had feared losing their job was still there. The apprenticeship program welcomed its largest class ever. Young machinists who had no idea how close they had come. to never having that opportunity at all. One morning, a young apprentice stopped Evelyn on the factory floor. "Mrs. Carter, I've got a question." She smiled. "Shoot, were you really the owner all this time?" Evelyn laughed softly. "I was never interested in owning the company. I was interested in protecting it." The young man nodded. Years later, that would still be the answer he remembered. The board asked Evelyn to return as CEO. She declined. "The company deserves someone who can give it every hour. My family deserves the same." She remained chairwoman. But every afternoon, at exactly 3:15, she still left for home. Some meetings can wait. Some moments can't. That Friday evening, her grandson was waiting by the front window. The moment he saw her car, he ran to the door. "Grandma, you made it. I promised I would." She hugged him tightly. The boardroom, the lawyers, the investors, none of it mattered anymore. Dinner was already on the table. Pancakes, just like every Friday. As they ate, her grandson looked up. "Grandma, when I grow up, I want to build something too." Evelyn smiled. "Then build something people can trust. Everything else, that comes later." That night, the company lights slowly switched off. One floor at a time. The machines rested. The offices emptied. The lobby grew quiet. Only one thing remained illuminated. The old garage photograph. The place where it had all begun. Exactly where it belonged. People often believe companies are destroyed overnight. They aren't. They're destroyed. One compromise at a time. And they're saved. The very same way. One honest decision. One difficult choice. One person willing to do the right thing. Even when nobody is watching. If you've ever watched someone else take credit for your work, don't let bitterness become your legacy. Let excellence become your evidence. Because titles fade. Money changes hands. Applause disappears. But character always leaves fingerprints. Before we end, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing this incredible community checking in from across the United States and around the world. And if stories like this remind you that integrity still wins, subscribe and join us for the next one. Because around here, we don't celebrate the loudest people in the room. We celebrate the ones who quietly built it.